In Parashat Vayechi, Jacob, our forefather, is dying. He is graced with the opportunity to bestow final blessings upon his loved ones, a privilege not afforded to so many. And he uses that opportunity to forecast the future for his sons, and in some cases to rebuke them. While some get off easier than others, each one is labeled and categorized in a way that cannot fall upon our modern ears and sensibilities as anything other than disastrously unhealthy and cruel from a dying father. Reuben is unstable and bound to fail. Simeon and Levi reckless and foolish. Judah shall be revered, Gad confined to a life of hardship. Each word another mental bar installed on the window of each man's vision of his life. He need never doubt what his father thinks of him or how much faith he does or doesn't have in that son's capacity to achieve his own dreams. I believe that this text calls us to consider how we have labeled other people, how we've categorized and rebuked them, whether directly or in the privacy of our own minds. It is inviting us, this parsha, to engage in a very difficult task of acknowledging how our classification and identifying of traits might stifle their hope and future growth, how putting someone in a locked room, whether through the way we think about her or through the way we behave in relationship with her, might unfairly confine her. We can imagine Reuben saying, I'm not bound to fail if you would just support me a little more. Or maybe it's Simeon and Levi saying, you are calling us reckless because of behavior that we exhibited years ago, and we're much older and wiser now. Or maybe Judah saying, Father, the expectations for greatness that you have placed upon me are smothering me. I need to know you'll still love me, even if I falter. But behavior that Jacob is exhibiting is so human and so familiar. If we're moved by this vignette to feel that Jacob's final speech is unfair or destructive to his sons who have gathered around their father to hear his final words, it is an opportunity for us then to do some internal work with ourselves to be sure that the effect we imagine him having on his loved ones is not the effect that we have on ours. One value that Judaism offers us when considering how our actions might affect other people in relationship is that of humility. In common parlance, humility is understood to be self-effacement, making oneself as small as possible. But in Judaism, and especially in the Jewish ethical tradition of Musar, humility or anava is not about that. Humility is the point of perfect balance between arrogance and meekness, the point at which we take up the appropriate amount of space in our world. Our tradition points out that someone who is self-effacing to a high degree actually in practice is as self-centered as someone who is arrogant to a high degree. We each deserve space in our world. We are God's creations, and we have a spark of divinity in us. How that space we occupy interacts with the sacred space of others is the project of our lives. And honing our humility is one way to live in more full, healthy relationship with others and with ourselves. There were two teachings that came into my life this week that I think are a powerful workout for us as we seek to hone our humility muscles. The first emerged from the wisdom of a Catholic nun who made the following suggestion. Upon hearing or making an observation about another person, she suggests, add to the end of that sentence the word, just like me. It plays out like this. Reuben, unstable as water, you shall excel no longer, just like me. Judah crouches like a lion, like a king of beasts he is, majestic, just like me. My friend is so capable at her job, or so smart about money, or so patient with her children, just like me. My brother is so irresponsible, so capable of laziness, so quick to anger, just like me. This religious leader's advice encourages us to see ourselves as one with other human beings, fighting the same battles that they are and having the same strength that they do. It can help us to remember that we're all beautiful and we're all broken, and perhaps we should be more forgiving and loving and accepting of people as they are, for are they not just like us? The other teaching has a Jewish source. This week, I had the privilege of joining over 100 other rabbis at a 24-hour conference run by our movement's Religious Action Center, the RAC, to support and educate those rabbis who are involved in community organizing of the kind that has led our congregation to affiliate with MICA, Memphis Interfaith Coalition for Action and Hope. The conversations at this conference were at once tactical and also spiritual, for it requires both of these dimensions to successfully engage in long-term, difficult conversations and movements that lead to change and hopefully to justice. In one of my sessions, a rabbi shared a story about a young boy who was rebuking himself after making a mistake and saying to himself, "I'm so ungrateful, I'm so irresponsible, I'm so immature, I'm so full of mistakes." And the boy's rabbi said back to him, "Yes, but that is not all you are. Reuben, you are unstable, but that is not all you are. Judah, you are like a king of beasts, full of strength and majesty, but that is not all you are." The meaning of this story to the rabbis in the room who are trying to bring communities together to create just cities, and the meaning to each of us as we go through our lives trying to shape them into lives of meaning, is that sometimes each of us feels that we are not enough, that we can easily fall short. We have traits and aspects of ourselves that are out of balance, that take up too much space in our lives. We struggle and we rail against those. And after a long day or week or month or year of fighting against our own worst impulses, we might feel like throwing up our hands and saying, "I'm just selfish. That's just who I am." But we might hear this wise response, just as the young boy in the story did. "Yes, but that is not all you are." We have come to the end of the book of Genesis. The book is full of people who make messes of their lives. We have women and men in these early chapters of the Torah who mistreat loved ones and who listen to their Yetzer Ra, their worst inclination, instead of behaving in the way that we might want them to and being who we know they can be. In our next book of the Torah, we meet an entire people who are stiff-necked and afraid, and who spend decades wandering in the wilderness, famously. Our story is a story of becoming, of a constant climb toward a purer and more present and more ethical existence. It is never too early, nor is it ever too late, to refocus on that climb for ourselves or our community, and perhaps honing our humility is a good place to start. So I invite each soul that is here in this chapel to think of a pattern in your life that is your least favorite, the behavior you would most like to change. And just please fill in this blank, each of us in our own personal ways. I am so yes. We all answer you. You are that way, just like me. But don't give up, for that is not all you are. Shabbat shalom.